The museum was a project of the Historical Society of Talbot County, and the meetings, the idea, I guess, was generated among some of the board members and members of the Historical Society that the maritime story around here is such an important piece that it's really not enough just to do it as a section of our Historical Society museum. It deserves its own museum. And so it was only in 1963 that they formed a committee to get this together. And in a relatively short period, in 2 years, they opened the doors to the public. They acquired the lands, they began collecting, and opened the museum to the public. We gave ourselves some parameters. For example, we wanted to make sure that we represented all of the areas of the collection. So we make sure that we've got a manuscript item in there. We make sure that we've got a couple of historic photographs. We make sure that we have an oral history in there. Historic watercraft are such a big part of this museum and have been since the word go, so we have to make sure that they're represented in this exhibit in some way. And a lot of obvious choices. We've got fine art, paintings and oil paintings and watercolors. We've got some sculpture, we've got some ship models, we've got some tools, all those kinds of maritime-y things that you might expect. So we have this silver life-saving medal, and it's engraved on the back to Captain William C. Gehagen, and it's dated for an act of heroism. Well, these are not all that common, and this seems like a pretty special thing, but I never had the story behind this. And so in the process of researching this exhibit, first we said, that's a neat object just to look at it. It's got to be in the exhibit. But now, what story is it going to tell? And so we've unearthed the story. We've found the old newspaper stories about when he was awarded this. He wasn't awarded it until the early 20th century. Turns out William C. Gehagen was a steamboat captain. And in the course of his daily steaming up and down the bay, he came across, in a building gale down in Virginia, a small gig or rowing boat from a naval vessel that had a lieutenant and a bunch of midshipmen, and they were getting blown out to sea. And he maneuvered the steamboat alongside, and in icy conditions, slipping on the decks, all the rest. Rescues never take place under easy circumstances. It's always under the most trying circumstances. The folks wouldn't have been in trouble if they were easy circumstances. But he maneuvered the steamboat, and he and his crew rescued these sailors from really certain death. Actually, we will have one boat inside this exhibit. We have, and this is kind of on the recreational boating side, we have one of a very popular class of sailing dinghy called the Penguin. Lots of kids around here, lots of grown people, when they were kids, learned to sail in Penguins, and there's still an active fleet of Penguins around. And we happen to have the #1 of the class, home built by William W. Heinz, who's sort of credited as the founder of this class, back in 1939. We have a fabulous model of a log canoe. It's named the Belle M. Crane. It's a quite large model. And the model was made in about 1932, so it's an antique model, by Robert D. Lambden, who was then a retired boat builder, a native of St. Michael's, who himself in his career built 68 log canoes. And so he knew something about log canoes. So in his retirement, he went to the Aged Men's Home on Lexington Street in Baltimore and took with him a handful of small tools, hand tools, and would make small pieces of furniture and boat models in the basement. And he would give them to friends or sell them, and a couple of them were displayed in the windows of the hardware store up in Easton, across from the courthouse, the Shanahan and Wrightson hardware store. And this was one of the, in fact, we have, Lambden, the builder's photo was taken in front of this particular model. So it was one that he took some pride in. I've organized this exhibit around several ideas, sort of broad themes. One of them is suggested by the steamboat map, that the bay connects us, that the bay is a pathway. Another is that the bay is a valuable natural resource, and so we've got all the evidence of natural resource harvesting that come out of the bay, both waterfowl, a punt gun and a big swan decoy, as well as oystering. Big collection of oyster tins, for example, this opens to the public on May 23rd. So we actually we're in very good shape.
Okay.
We're going to be ready.